All right, so let me just start at the beginning. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for Mental Health Mondays in May. My name is Cheryl Garrix Lloyd, and mental health is my passion and my purpose. I'm a complete purple girl, and the P in my purple is for purpose and passion. So this is how we're starting. The theme for Mental Health Awareness Month this month is turning awareness into action. Are you mentally healthy? And how are we going to move forward? So we are seeing on our screen the Warwick Edinburgh Mental Wellbeing Scale that persons were asked to complete. This is how we're starting today. 14 statements, answer based on the last 4 weeks of life, total your scores, and we're going to be moving right along, and we're going to answer and talk about the scores as we share this afternoon. Please be aware you're going to share with me. I thank you for joining wherever you're joining from, and let us all work on being mentally healthy, not just for this month, but right after. So now that you've done that, we are also going to put this in the chat for the persons who may have joined us late. Thank you for joining anyway, and we are going to move forward. So May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and this May, I'm quoting this directly from the National Alliance on Mental Illnesses. Raise your voice and help change the conversation around mental health. And since 1949, they have been driving Mental Health Awareness Month to address all the challenges in the United States for persons with mental health conditions. But Mental Health Awareness Month does only happen in the States. In the United Kingdom, they have Mental Health Awareness Week in May, and this is about raising awareness of mental health and promoting mental well-being for all, usually organized by the Mental Health Foundation. And this is a great time for us to reflect, to have some great conversations, and to support anybody having a mental health challenge or living with a mental illness. And that's been adopted across the globe. So we have adopted that here in Jamaica as well. But guess what? Usually in May, we have, for us in healthcare, we start off with the International Day of the Midwife, and then we have Teachers' Day, and then we have International Nurses Day, and we have Mother's Day, and it's Child's Month. And there are many other things that usually happen that just may overshadow mental health in May. But because I'm a mental health lady, it wouldn't pass me. So mental health awareness is vital because we all have to shine that spotlight. While we are happy to have any particular day or month, because there are other instances when we celebrate and talk about suicide specifically in September, and World International Mental Health Day is in October. It's important that we have these conversations every single day. We need to not only reduce stigma, we need to make sure we're taking care of our mental health every single day. So I thank you for joining me, and we are going to be talking this afternoon about how we will take care of our own mental health. So I always put this disclaimer out, and I'm starting again today with it. We are talking about mental health today and not really about mental illness. It's an umbrella term when we say mental health, and everybody will hear mental health. And usually, if you search, what you really find is a lot about mental illnesses or disorders. I'm not sure why, because they have two distinct definitions and they're two different concepts. So if you have any questions for me about mental illnesses, I'd be happy to answer those. But today we're going to be focusing on mental health. So the World Health Organization is our go-to for every definition. And this definition tells us mentally healthy persons are in a state of well-being when they can realize their own abilities, they can cope with the normal stresses of life, they work productively and fruitfully, and they can contribute to their community. WHO further goes on to say being mentally healthy is more than the absence of a mental illness. So if you don't have a mental illness, it doesn't automatically mean that you're mentally healthy. If you are mentally healthy, you can respect and accept yourself with your strengths and your weaknesses. We're not perfectly made. We can respect and accept others for who they are because we're all different. We are able to cope with daily problems and we gain satisfaction in living. And flexibility is very important to our mental health. We can adjust and adapt to all our changing situations. If I'm not mistaken, the current phrase on the ground is life is lifing. So we have to adjust and adapt to that. Now, I tell people I usually date myself. When we're talking about soca or calypso, we say moving to the left, moving to the right. Anybody knows that song? Who are the people who are dating themselves with me? Or that's a good one that gets played all the time. Which direction are you moving in? Are you moving to the left or are you moving to the right? We all start in the middle. When we are moving to the right of the screen, towards mental health. We're looking at being resilient and resourceful and sleeping well. We're able to manage, we're socially engaged. And sometimes when we are overwhelmed and we're not realizing it, when we're heading towards being mentally unhealthy, we start to feel very distressed, a little bit disconnected. Our coping skills are not working so great. We may be sleeping too little or too much, finding ourselves worrying, and sometimes we even get withdrawn. So the question I'm asking you is, are you mentally healthy? Because we're going to talk a bit more about the signs and the symptoms. Now, I just wanted to put this in so we can be clear. Mental illnesses are a behavioral or psychological syndrome or pattern. These occur and they affect an individual's ability to think, to feel, and or their mood. It affects their ability to relate and their ability to function daily. Usually, you have to be seen and assessed by a mental health professional, and then there's usually a diagnosis involved. We have a whole lot of those that come from the DSM-5 or the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. And so we're not looking at, I'm thinking the ones that people may know most commonly would say schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, major depressive disorder. We may have questions about those, but we're not touching on any of those. I just wanted us to be clear that they are two different concepts. So you just did your well-being scale, and I'm going to ask you, you don't need to answer me. Answer yourself truthfully and honestly. Are you mentally healthy? This is what your scores reflect in this moment. It's very important for us to check our mental health regularly. Just ask yourself sometimes. You don't have to always do a scale. How am I doing? Am I mentally healthy? Am I eating well? Am I sleeping well? Am I coping with my challenges? Am I able to take a deep breath? Do I feel like I can manage or do I feel overwhelmed, tired, and burnt out all the time? So when you total your scores just now, it was 14 statements. If you scored between 0 and 32, that means you may want to talk to somebody. It could include a professional about the things that you may need to do to improve your emotional well-being and or the things we're going to talk about, you could start implementing some of those. If you scored between 32 and 40, it means you're just about where most people are when they do this quiz. And it means that although you are not necessarily doing great, you're not doing badly, doesn't mean you're doing great either. And so you will need to take some action to improve your mental well-being. If you scored between 40 and 59, they are saying that here, while you're doing okay, you will still need to work on improving your mental well-being. All of us know we always have room for improvement. But if you scored between 59 to 70, it means that you are above average and you are doing pretty good. And the only other thing I usually say to persons is this. If you're doing great, keep doing great. And I would encourage you, please share with somebody somewhere. I said it earlier that each one teach one because it means that we can share and sometimes we learn from each other. So congrats if you're doing well. If you're average, that's not bad, but there's still room for improvement. If you're below average, it means you need to start doing some things right away. And if your score is low, then you definitely need to start doing something urgently. And or if you're trying and it's not working, and your score is low, this is a time when you perhaps want to talk to a professional. I know we don't like that, but we're going to talk about that as well. So I throw it out. You can put it in the chat. Having seen the interpretation of the scores, how are we doing? Anybody who's brave? All right. I've got one person who is mentally healthy. Fantastic. Better than I expected. Average. Average. All right. There's room for improvement. That's why we're going to be talking about that today. So, no need to be worried. We have to just make sure that a lot of us are healthcare professionals. And if we're not paying attention, you know what they teach us to care for everybody and we forget ourselves. So, I'm going to encourage us today to move forward with a plan of action. In fact, there's homework. But when we get to that, you will see it. So, what are the things that alert us to the fact that we're not doing as great as we could? My lists are never exhaustive. There are always other things sometimes that we can share or we don't know. So if you think of anything else you don't see here, put it in the chat because it could be something bigger or it could be something small that makes you know or makes somebody know that they're not doing great. Feeling persistently sad or down, not related to anything particularly, but you just find yourself just not feeling so great over a period of time. If you find yourself feeling like when you were maybe in school, or if you're in school, and you know, when you're reading that one sentence 10 times when you're studying and you can't, it doesn't make sense, you can't remember what you read. The thinking is feeling a little confused and your ability to concentrate is not so much with you. If you find yourself feeling excessively fearful, worried, or guilty, and again, this is over maybe let's say 2 weeks, but you can't pinpoint what it is about. So there are some people who don't like watching the news, for instance. And you're saying at the beginning of the news, especially here in Jamaica, it's always the negative things and the bad things that are happening, and that can make some people feel fearful or worried. But you can't pinpoint what it's related to particularly. We have a phrase in Jamaica that says people love to be moody. We're not talking about being moody the way we describe it. But if you find yourself feeling like you're doing pretty good today, then tomorrow you're not feeling so great, and the next day you're kind of all right, then you're back to feeling great, and it keeps going up and down. That's something that we should be paying attention to. Withdrawal from friends and activities. So we stop enjoying the things that we used to do. We're not answering our phones as much. We're not socializing. Something is going on. Feeling very tired or fatigued, and we can't pinpoint what it is. We're not going to the gym, we're not doing any extra physical activity. And then we realize that we start having issues with sleep. One of the best ways a lot of people tell you when they're feeling stressed or they're not feeling like they're managing, they sleep a lot. Because when you're sleeping, you can't think about anything. That's not good. The reverse of that is a lot of people start to get insomnia. So you find yourself can't fall asleep, not staying asleep, you're not sleeping all night. And for a lot of us, it's the ticking of the clock as the hours go by. Pretty much falling asleep, let's say 4 or 5, when you know your alarm going to be going off just about at that time. Then you find yourself not managing with the daily things that are a challenge to you. So usually you would have a plan A, a plan B, a plan C, a backup plan just in case, and you find yourself feeling very overwhelmed with the things that you'd usually be managing with. It's a little telltale sign. With the inability to manage some of the daily things, you start realizing that you're not so understanding to people and situations. You start to get very frustrated and intolerant really quickly. There are some people who start to use different things, not just alcohol or drugs. For some of us, maybe it's more coffee, maybe it's more chocolate to cope with the stresses that we're having. And then the thing that gets changed with our sleep is also our eating habits. Some people start to lose their appetites, and some people start to stress eat. For a lot of us, sometimes it's when our clothes either start falling off of us or we can't get into anything, we start to realize how our eating may have changed. So a lot of people lose their appetites and they don't even eat for sustenance. And some people stress eat. And let me see the hands of those in the chat are clicking the reaction. When you stress eat, listen carefully to the question. When you stress eat, you eat celery sticks and carrot. How many people? Anybody? Nobody stress eats and eats fruits and vegetables, really. Usually, when we're stress eating, we want those things that bring us the comfort and the relief and the relaxation. What are some of those things? Let me hear from some persons. Anybody wants to open their mic or type in the chat? What do you eat when you're having
Chocolate,
stressful?
ice cream, cake.
There you go. Chocolate, ice cream, cake. Some people like comfort food, macaroni and cheese, KFC, these kinds of things. Sweets, hot wings. There you go, Kadisha. You and I are in the same boat. So when we stress eating, we're not trying to eat healthy. And so it's usually that we start to stress eat. A lot of people, the sex drive changes are usually an absolute lack of interest. You're feeling very tired, you're feeling very miserable, you can't manage the things that are happening to you, you don't know why you're tired, so you're not really interested in intimacy, and this can be a problem.
No, it's not common.
Some people start to get a little bit more hostile, you don't feel so great, you get angry, you may find yourself quarreling and or feeling very aggressive sometimes and you can't explain it. And for those people maybe at the extreme, we find that some persons start to feel a little bit suicidal because they've tried to work on a plan A, a plan B. Nothing seems to be working. We do all of the other things that we should be doing. We tell you, you pray, you have devotion, you talk to somebody, and you make a backup plan and nothing seems to be working. And some people get to suicidal thoughts. I wonder if I weren't here, if this would be better. It's not better. And then we start to describe if somebody asks, you walk up to somebody and you say, "Hi, how are you doing today?" And then you say, "Boy, I feel stressed." My students' favorite phrase when I go into class, "Students, how are you doing today? Miss, we stressed out." And I keep saying to them, "Stop that and take it back." Some of them will say, "Miss, I feel so depressed." And I say to them, "Maybe you're feeling sad, but being depressed is a clinical diagnosis. Take it back because words have power." Some people say, "I feel like my mind are there, me not manage, me can't bother." And we have varying ways. Anybody wants to tell me if you're not feeling like yourself and you don't feel like you're managing, what's your expression? So if I were to ask you today, give me an emoji or give me a phrase. What's your mental health status right now?
Poco poco.
Poco poco. Very Jamaican. Anybody else in the chat or open your mic? A phrase or an emoji? Because we use the emojis a lot. And I find that sometimes that's a great one to even teach our children how to express their emotions as we are going along. There you go. Feeling like you're very overwhelmed and you can't manage. And I really want to say to us, we need to remember that there's absolutely nothing wrong with feeling overwhelmed and like we can't manage. We go through life in stages, and sometimes we are going to have these stages when we are not managing. That's why we check our mental health all the time. So when you realize where you are, because I would say to somebody, especially those of us in healthcare, when we're talking to our patients, we ask them, we're doing our assessment, how are you? We're trying to find out what's happening, and then we're going to try to help them to be a part of what they need to manage. And so why don't we do that for ourselves? But when you say health, everybody says, all right, I'm going to be healthy, but you think about physical activity, we think about eating well, we think about the financial health too, because you want to put up some money and save some money. People think about spiritual health and they have to go to church. And if you ask somebody, when was the last time you prioritized your mental health? They probably don't have an answer for you, or they don't even know if they've checked it in the longest of whiles. So while we are doing it today to figure out where we are, and we're going to keep doing it as we move forward, the important part is going to be turning our awareness into action. So the question I have for anybody who wants to share with me right now is, what was the last thing you did for your mental health and when did you do it? Let me hear. Last thing you did for your mental health and when did you do it? You've all
The
gone
last
quiet.
thing I did, I guess the last thing I did was to tune into this program.
All right, Lillian, we're getting there.
I
Khadijah
did some
says she listened to
self-care
music and pray this morning. Denise did self-care.
and I took some time for myself. I got away.
Wonderful. It's important to ask ourselves, how many of us have heard the phrase, you can't pour from an empty cup? How many of us believe that phrase? So if we believe, why are we not pouring into ourselves? Because, go ahead, Lillian. Good for you, Natalie.
No, I was just saying, yeah, I've heard the statement.
All right. So we hear that. Turn off the data on your Wi-Fi. Fantastic, Kadian. Samsung, I don't see a name. It just says Samsung. You went to Draxall. Fantastic. Why you couldn't bring some of us? Boy, I'm telling you. But we have to turn awareness into action and it needs to be consistent. Now, I have an exercise program and they will tell you that their mantra is progress and not perfection. Fidelis, fantastic. I hope you were watching with me yesterday when my team got the trophy, right? Barring that, you're probably a little bit stressed if it wasn't your team. But you have to make sure we are taking care of ourselves. So let's talk about some of these things. Not anything far out, not anything way off, just basic things that we need to get done. Connecting with others. Fidelis, let me ask you. You can answer in the chat. You've been here long enough. No man is an island. How many people know that song? We must be connected with others. Fantastic relationships around us that offer support, enrich our lives, and makes our mental health so much better. Any kind of personal and professional relationship we have, let's not leave that out because a lot of us spend our time at work. It affects our well-being, so we have to put some effort in, and we want them to put some effort in. And I'm going to pause to put an addendum here. A circle of support is very important for all of us. If the people who are in your circle or you think are in your circle, it makes you weary to talk to them, you may feel more drained and down, and you don't feel like they are supporting, encouraging, motivating, and or lovingly correcting you if you need to have correction, that may not be the people who are your circle of support. The circle of support is supposed to be just that. So if they are making you more stressed, they're making you feel more drained, and it feels more negative, in honesty, I would say you may have to start getting your circle a little bit smaller or changing out those people. And the effort that is required for any relationship, family, friendship, marriage, anything at all, is the same effort on two sides. Some people like to say it's 50-50. I say it's 100-100. So we find the time and we support each other, but we need to be connected. It's very important that we are not isolating ourselves. Take the time to enjoy. A lot of us have busyness killing us. We wake up in the mornings, we hit the ground running. We go for the whole day, we get into bed, and tomorrow we start over. When was the last time we did some activities, any kind of hobby or project for pure enjoyment because we like it and it's a part of our stress relief for our mental health sake? Sometimes you have to be spontaneous. You don't feel so great right now and you feel like you could do that little nature. Let's say for those of us in Kingston, you can drive up to Castleton. The water may not be so plenty, but you can put your foot in the water or go to the beach or something like that. And sometimes you make a plan and say, I have to do some things I like to enjoy. Every time I watch the tourist channel, I'm like, people are coming to Jamaica for so many of these things. I need to go out and see that. But on a smaller scale, do you have Scrabble on your phone? Do you have Solitaire? Do you have your crossword book? Do you go to Hope Gardens? Do you go to Devon House? Do you do something that's fun for you? I like to read. My Kindle is on my phone. Sometimes I have things to do, but I pause to read a chapter here or there. And when I read it and I feel relaxed, right on to the other things. The most basic one here, they tell you if you have children, when was the last time you colored? Absolutely relaxing, quiet, and fun. It must be that within our busy schedules, we take the time to enjoy. Absolutely beneficial to our mental health. Did we talk about the empty cup? Take care of ourselves. We must ensure that we are taking care of ourselves first, and then we can give the best care to everybody else. Now, I'm not sure because everybody who's joining me today will not be a nurse, but I can tell you they say nurses are the health in healthcare, and I find it very distressing that they don't teach us to care for ourselves first. So we must be physically active. We need to eat well because these work together to take care of our bodies, but our minds and our bodies are linked and we must take care of both. So when we do physical activity, physiologically it releases what we call the feel-good hormones, endorphins, gives us some serotonin, gives us some oxytocin, and we feel better about it. Don't push the chair when you're sitting down over to the next desk. Walk, take the stairs instead of the elevator sometimes, and just find anything. When you're cleaning the house, turn on the music and move around a little. Do some gardening, find anything. When we combine those things, it helps our minds, but we must take care of ourselves. Get a little extra sleep. Be consistent about the things we do. Have nothing to do on your to-do list one of these days, and make sure you find some time to prioritize yourself. What are our stressors? How do we respond to stress? The biggest thing about stress is how we manage it. Stress is normal. We're going to have stressors. Can I move myself away from the stressor? Can I move the stressor away from me? Or do I simply have to change the way I respond to it until I can move myself or move it? So we can't avoid everything. We can't change everything.
Yeah.
One of the biggest things we're going to have to do is manage the way that we respond to the stress. So, does it make you feel very distressed? Does it make you feel uncomfortable? Can you manage to change your reaction to it? And if it is getting to be most overwhelming, are you able in this moment to just stop? Because sometimes that stress is something that if you are able to take deep breaths and focus on the next moment, because sometimes when stress comes at us, in that single moment, we feel like we can't get beyond it. It's not necessarily true, and we're going to talk about the stop technique and the deep breathing in a little while, but sometimes what we need to do is just pause, breathe a little bit, and figure out the next moment. Then we make the plans because the stress comes in small, it comes in medium, it comes in large and extra large, and sometimes it's a combination of. So stress management is very important. I do have a stress management quiz, but I didn't have that one in here for you today. It doesn't mean I can't share it. And if anybody in here has been following me on my social media, I would have shared that quiz as one of the resources. So I hope that you did it. Yes? So we have to deal with our stress. Very important. Now, a lot of us are not great at asking for help. Let me see the hands of the people in here who ask for help when they need it. Please be honest. How many people? Anybody? Asking for help? No? All right. We have to ask for help. We must know when we need help. There you go. Charmaine, take a deep breath when you're feeling anxious. Go, Fidelis. Sometimes we don't want to ask for help. We have a way of thinking we can do everything and we can manage everything. Sometimes help is literally just as simple as you need an extra hour of sleep, so you may want to defer something you have to do and ask somebody to cover that. Sometimes you may just have to get some me time in and you say to somebody, they ask you, you can't do this now because you just can't manage. Because sometimes you don't have to say, I need help. Sometimes asking for help is saying no. We're going to talk about that. And sometimes you have to be very specific about what the help is that you need. Do you need to speak to a professional? Do you need to go in and see our healthcare providers? Because sometimes we're not taking care of our general health and that affects our mental health. So we don't have any perfect worry-free life, and everybody has hurdles and challenges, but sometimes we can be specific. If you have small children, are you able to leave them with auntie or uncle or godparents and grandparents for a little bit so you can have a little bit of time for yourself? If you are able to say to your colleague at work, I need to take my break and I need 10 extra minutes. Can you just cover me right there? And you can just stop, go in a little space and do absolutely nothing and do those deep breathing exercises. Is it possible that sometimes asking for help means you can't cook today and you have to go buy one rotisserie chicken because you really just need 5 minutes to sit down and relax when you get home? It's as simple as that sometimes. It may be more serious, but it can be as simple as that. So these are some mental health activity reminders that I've been sharing as well. Some of them we've covered. So the physical activity, as best we can fit it in, adequate sleep and rest. Please be aware that sleep and rest are two different things. So we need 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours of sleep, they will tell us, but within the day, we also need rest. Sometimes we are not sleeping well, but sometimes we are also not getting any rest, and we need to be able to pause. Healthy eating benefits us. Ladies are picking on you. How many of us feel very stressed out when you can't get into your clothes? You know, you were going to go somewhere and you have this outfit in your mind you're going to wear, and then you're going to put on the outfit and it can't button up. And you get very stressed because we weren't realizing that we were gaining weight. We're not eating as well as we should. We're not doing any physical activity. And then that just adds to your stress. Yes, Lillian, I'm very aware. And then we put the scale in the naughty corner because it doesn't give us the right figure. How many of us do a little bit of meditating? How many of us ensure that we do our daily devotion? Even if we're not Christians, some people are spiritual. Do we make sure we spend a moment within that space that elevates us? How many of us have me time within any given day? Let me see the hands of the people who have 15 minutes at least, or up to an hour of me time every single day. No, 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 Katie, we're not doing intense running and diet modification. We want long-term health, right? Yes. So how many of us make sure that we are doing our little me time? Listen to me. Please be aware for the moms, if you have kids, sometime even when you go in the bathroom, they're going to come, right? Start practicing these things. Learn to say no. Sometimes when they're calling you, instead of saying yes, you just say no. Start helping them to recognize that they need me time. So you see, when they're on their devices, sometime are watching a little TV and they're getting their me time, and you say, great. Teach them that that's important for all of you. So sometimes mommy or daddy needs me time as well, and you're getting 5 minutes for yourself, right? So stress management, we just spoke about that. Journaling is a fantastic way to help you to get what you're feeling out of your head. Some people tell you they don't want to talk to somebody. They don't necessarily want to they don't trust people. Some people tell you that they're not sure they're ready to say what they're thinking to others when they're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. A lot of people journal. Can be digital, it can be an actual journal. It gives you an opportunity to vent. So you are getting it out of your system. And so you are able to put it down, then you can go back to it. You can write how you feel as you change. And then sometimes you go back to see what you had there, and it helps you to feel better when you see, and or it helps you to see if you're still not managing despite the fact that you're making an effort, right? Therapy or counseling. I did say that earlier. So here everybody know. No, some I don't really want to talk to no professional because I don't want nobody say me mad. So let me throw it out there. As mental health professionals, we don't use the word mad or crazy, although that's very normal for us in Jamaica because we say that discriminates. And then I'll tell you this, I tell people all the time. Every time I remember working at Bellevue Hospital and my brother was to bring something for me and he said, boy, I don't want bring it in because I don't want nobody see my driving at Bellevue. And I said, but people work at Bellevue, it's not only patients are there. And he said, oh, them going to know if me's a patient or not. And I know he was joking and we joke about it, but that's the way that stigma helps us to not get the help we need. I usually say this. If your car makes a funny sound, even if you have an idea about cars, you're more than likely going to see a mechanic to sort out what it is. You don't want your car to stop. If your pipe bursts in your house, you call the plumber. So if you are doing the mental health activities and you're working on yourself and you're trying to manage your stress and you're trying to make sure you're mentally healthy, and there is something or there are some things from life that are coming at you and you don't feel like you're managing, we use our minds to solve our issues and to respond. Therefore, going to see a counselor or a therapist or a psychologist is a consideration because that's their training to help you to figure out what is it that you need to do moving forward. So please don't write it off. Time management. Do you know that the biggest stress a lot of us have is procrastination? And when the deadlines are approaching, we get very stressed. Yes? Regular vacation time, please, please, please. Take your time off from work. A lot of us feel like if we're not there, they won't manage, they will manage. Please be aware. God forbid we should be sick or we pass away, within no time they'll have replaced us. Plan for our vacations. And I always put a little addendum. If you have children at home or you have multiple roles and responsibilities, so you're active in an association, you're studying and or anything else, figure out how you can squeeze in a day or two for yourself to have some downtime. Create this kind of healthy environment so that you are able to relax and take a deep breath. If you don't like clutter, do you know you normally pack away and keep the place tidy? If you are able to have plants, there are some plants, and I'm not anybody who's a gardener. Some of them help to keep our air clean and they make us feel so relaxed. So, like me, I like orchids. I can't keep them alive, but I like to look at them. So if you have them in your environment and your space and you put things together to keep you healthy. Financial stability is very important to our mental health. So I encourage people, get financially literate and figure out a plan. Not everybody will be at the same level, but once you're able to see where you want to go, figure out how to financially get there, automatically your mental health is a little better. We talked about the fun and the activities, and the last one I have here are boundaries. Boundaries. Learn to say no if you can't do something. I'm not telling you to be selfish, but the more you say yes, the less time you have for yourself. Learn to turn work off when you go home. Sometimes, if there's no emergency from home when you get to work, turn home off. Learn how to give of yourself, but without depleting you. So you know when to put back into you. And it don't matter is who, any relationship, family, friend, anybody. Learn when that you need a moment for yourself. All right? I'm not sure who's writing on the screen, but I'll fix that shortly. These are the additional things I love to say to people. How many people here, talk to me again, anybody, go to bed at night and forget to charge your phone? Let's hear it. Anybody? Or do we usually remember to charge our phones when they need charging?
Not all the time, sometimes.
All right. And how do you feel if your phone runs out of charge?
Feel very bad.
Very bad. And you can't function because nowadays we are so tied to the phones. Is that not true?
Yes.
Wonderful. Therefore, the first thing I have here in the additional is recharging. If we are so diligent about charging our phones and making sure that our phones are functional, what prevents us from treating ourselves like our phones and ensuring that we are recharged? Yes? We talked about learn to say no. The more you say yes, the less time you have for yourself and the things you need to get done. I'm not saying to be selfish, but manage your time well and really practice when you have to say no. It takes a while. Sometimes we cannot even get the opportunity to say what we want to say. We start to feel the need to explain. Practice the no until you get to a point when you do not need to explain. You're able to simply say no. Relaxation is a must. What do you do for relaxation? We talked about the work-life balance and the boundaries. We've talked about the circle of support. The to-do lists help us to keep track of where we are, helps us to recognize what are the things we should be doing and if we're getting them done. I always have an addendum here. You see, if you met the to-do list and when you're not checking off anything, it stresses you out, please, I'm begging you, do not make the to-do list. Everybody with me? How many people feel stressed if you make the to-do list and when you look, you don't tick one thing on there? Anybody?
Yes, and I feel too regimented when I have a to-do list sometimes.
All right. So this is what I'm now saying. The list will help us make the list. If you make the list and you're able to get the things done, if making the list is more stressing to you when you look that you're not ticking anything off, then don't make the list. Use your calendar and your diaries on your phone because we always have our phones with us for argument's sake to remind us that we have things to do. Break up the things into smaller things and remind yourself as you go along. Write it on something where you can see it. But if the list is stressing you out, then I would say don't bother with the list. Conflict resolution skills are important to our mental health. When do you keep quiet? When do you say no? When do you learn to respond without the anger? When do you recognize that what's happening is more about them and not about you? So if we never thought about it, think about it. I saw a meme recently that said the professional way to say I told you so is that was identified early on as a possible outcome. And I found that hilarious because you've just said I told you so without saying so. But then it ties into me with the conflict resolution. How do I ensure I keep my peace of mind while trying to resolve conflict if there's any? Family time is important, and I always share this cautiously. Not everybody has a loving, caring family that they want to spend time with, and that's something to work on because if you don't, that's something that's damaging your mental health. And if you do, though, plan the family time. Drive out together, have ice cream together, play Scrabble, play Monopoly. Oh Lord, of course, you know it's going to cost some fuss, but it's all about the fun of doing it together. We talked about you taking your vacation. Make a small plan and a big plan. Yes? There you go, Katie. And sometimes you just let the chips fall where they may, and tomorrow is another day. The stop meditation is the one I'm going to share with you next. So when you take your regular vacation time, before we do that, I want to say, plan it out, do something fun. Don't just take it and stay home. And sometimes you have to make sure that you can do something fun and away. I agree with you, Denise. Bingo is probably safer than Uno and Monopoly. Those are the ones, or dominoes too. So the stop meditation is something we can use in any moment, anytime at all you feel overwhelmed. It's something that gives you pause. So you're not sure what's happening and you're feeling most overwhelmed. This is the stop technique. You're going to stop what you're doing in the middle of it. And when you stop, you have to take a few deep breaths, and we're going to talk about the breaths right after this. When you take those deep breaths, what it does is that it allows you to clear your mind, and then you're able to move on to, observe what's happening to you. Am I angry? Am I hungry? Am I overwhelmed? Am I stressed? What can I do? And when you figure that out, you must go to P, and P requires you to address what you found at O. So we're going to say it again. Stop what you're doing. Take those deep breaths. Observe what's happening to you. Proceed and do something about what you found at O. So stop is literally the acronym. Now, how do we take those deep breaths? I usually laugh at this point because when we say to persons, take a deep breath, we're more inclined to do this. And our chest goes all the way up. And sometimes we didn't take a deep breath. It's still superficial. So we're going to take a deep breath, feel it from our abdomens, and we're going to ensure that the chest may move, but you really should feel the breath all the way from down in your belly. Take the breath in through your nose. And when you take it in, you count 1, 2, 3. Hold the breath and count 1, 2, 3. And then you exhale through your mouth and you count to 5. Usually we do this in sets of 3s. So remember what we're going to be doing. We're going to stop. We're going to take the 3, 3, 5 breaths. We're going to observe what's happening. And then we're going to address that. So who's ready to take the deep breath with me?
Me.
Wonderful. So if you feel angry, you feel like you want to cry, you feel very stressed, you feel like you can't manage, you feel like you have to say, God, really and truly, what's going on right here? Before you open your mouth and you have to go quarrel with somebody, before you have to, clap on at the children or something like this or shout at them, it's important that we can try to do this. I'm going to be honest with you. It don't mean remember every time. It doesn't mean that we are always pausing, but it's important because this gives us a chance to think of the what next. So I'm going to count. I'm going to give you the instructions, and I'm going to ask you to go with me. Remember, we're inhaling through our nose. We're going to count. We're going to hold it. Then we're going to exhale through our mouths. So, are we ready? Let's go. Inhale, 2, 3. Hold it. 2, 3. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's do that one more time. So inhale through your nose, hold it, exhale through your mouth. Let's go. Inhale, 2, 3. Hold it, 2, 3. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. How was that?
Relaxing. It felt good.
Wonderful. Usually gives you a moment to just calm right down and figure out what you're going to do next. So I'm going to wait to the end and see how everybody's remembering because we're going to talk about the technique, right? But so we stop. Now, I usually have resources I try to share because sometimes when we're overwhelmed, we're trying to figure out what's the next best step. And so if you can see, this was put together by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and there are several places on here. So there's a mental health and suicide prevention line from the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have the Women in Crisis Centers. There's one in Kingston, one in St. James for women who are being abused. We have the Child Protection and Family Services Agency. Safe Spot has a WhatsApp number for children, goes up to 18. They have a number for anybody who's being abused. Number that's for a cell phone, one for females, one for males. Yes, men get abused. We have 1888 numbers as well. We have the Victim Services Division from the police. Choose Life specifically deals with suicide, and Rise Life also does substance abuse. So there's a variety of places sometimes we can reach out to. One of the things I found over the years of talking about mental health is that many people sometimes will pass you. I don't know if it happens to anybody else. You're on the road or you're out somewhere and they just come to you and they just start talking and explaining to you this problem that they have. Sometimes they don't even wait on you to say something. By the time they've talked it out to you, it helps them figure out what they would like to do next. And as far as they're concerned, they won't ever say again. So they feel free to just talk to you. Yes? You Matter is another WhatsApp number that goes up to age 24. So that's for adolescents and young adults. This is the number from the ministry, and we've had a lovely Jamaican pastor who's created the Talk About It app up and running, virtual counseling, and you can set your appointments on there. That's the government's website, and that's their email address. And so we want to make sure we recognize that this is how we can get help as well. So we're moving forward. We are assessing where we are today. We want to know what we're going to do to start working on it, keep working on it, and what we're going to share with somebody. Mental health is a global issue. Before COVID, our figures were projected to be increased for mental health challenges. Mental health is one of the things that gets swept under the rug, but that's serious across the globe. So some of the things I can tell you off the top of my head. 2 years ago, there was a newspaper article here in Jamaica that said we had about 108,000 people coming into the mental health clinics. We have people dying by suicide every 4 seconds globally. And for every one person who dies from suicide, there are at least 4 more attempts. Almost everybody, if not everybody, knows of somebody or they themselves are struggling mentally. They may be just feeling mentally unhealthy. And I usually like to declare being mentally unhealthy is when you're not managing the stresses and the challenges of life. Or you may know somebody living with a mental illness, or it may be you. Living with a mental illness does not mean you cannot be mentally healthy. There are people who are diagnosed, just like diabetes or hypertension, who are taking their medication, going to their therapy, are active in their care and recovery. And unless they tell you, you wouldn't know. They manage their stress, they do self-care, and they are doing fantastically well. The other thing that's an important part that we discussed here was just the self-care. Nobody can prioritize your mental health for you. So you need to make your mental health a priority. So get in the know, get the information, stay in the know when you're in the know, and share what you know. That's an important way for us to be able to attain and maintain good mental health. The only thing I'd add here is give yourself grace. Every day is not going to be great mentally. Every day is not going to be a very bad day. You will have good days, in between days, not so great days. The important thing is that you make the effort and you make it consistently. It must be an everyday thing. So, Glenn Close said, what mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. The more we talk about it, the more we share about it, the more it becomes the norm for us to talk about it. If we have a headache, we take Panadol. If your headache gets bad, if your head scratching, I have eczema. If you have anything else medically, we have no hesitation sometimes to go and see a medical practitioner. A mental practitioner should be just the same, but because of stigma, we are afraid to go sometimes. And the more we talk about it, each of us has that role. If you hear something you know is not true, then you debunk that myth. If you hear something that you think is beneficial, then you discuss it. If you hear somebody who needs help and you know something, then tell them. Let us all be a part of the conversation. Caring for our mind is as important as caring for our body. They cannot be healthy without each other, and so we should not forget that. So this is the homework I was telling you about. Having done the well-being scale earlier, for the people who came a little bit late, I'm going to open the floor for us to talk because I expect everybody in here to tell me what's the last thing they did for their mental health, when did they do it, and what's the one thing you want to make sure you do after we are done today. What is your mental health status? I'm going to put back the scale Where do you want to be in terms of your mental health? And what do you plan to do moving forward after today? This is your homework, your mental health roadmap. Fill it in, use it. When you've done something and you've gotten it, then you can scratch it off or erase it and start right over. We have to assess our mental health status frequently. The same way we should go to see our healthcare practitioners at least annually to do a wellness check. Not when we are sick. We should be checking our mental health frequently to make sure we are staying on track to being mentally healthy. That's how you can find me. I am on Instagram and Facebook as a Mentally Healthy You. If you need me to do any kind of seminar, webinar, presentation, or workshop, you can email me at a mentallyhealthyu@gmail. You can go over to LinkedIn and find my newsletter. It's called Mental Health Mondays because Mental Health Mondays includes a newsletter every first Monday and one of these sessions every fourth Monday. And my phone number is there. So you can always find me. And there are some people on here who know me and know to find me at any point in time. So while I'm throwing out to anybody now who wants to share with me, I want to hear what you've been doing for your mental health. I'm going to go back to the scale for the persons who did not see the scale. And I'm also going to put the link for the self-care quiz in the chat so that persons can assess their self-care as well. Thank you so much for joining me for May's Mental Health Mondays. Look out for the newsletter for the first Monday in June. And then I'm going to ask you to help me to share. On the fourth Monday in June, we're going to be talking about men and their mental health because June is Men's Health Month. And I need some men to be over here because we're always going to support them, but we need them to hear for themselves. Over to you. Who's going first? Diana, go right ahead, my darling.
Hi, good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening.
So, I know I'm extremely busy,
Mm-hmm.
and I do a lot. I wear a lot of hats, and I notice the older I become, the more tired I am in the days. So sometimes I used to have to pull over, even if it's just Devon House, and just pull back my car seat, and sometimes just take 10 minutes. Sometimes I even fall asleep. But then when I wake up, I realize that I can face the rest of the day.
Took a power nap.
I take a power nap. Now, I used to feel very guilty taking a power nap
Oh
because
no.
why am I so tired, or why do I need to be napping in the day? But then I recognize that if I don't take my power nap in the day, then I'm in trouble by the time I get home to deal with the kids and homework and everything else in the evening. And so even during my lunch break, I have to time it so well that I eat something, but then I get a power nap. And I realize that I don't need to be ashamed of my power nap anymore because it's really helping. So
Power to you. Yeah.
when you spoke about taking a nap, I was like, oh yeah, for real. Like the older I become, like I really need that power nap in the day. So yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. When you recognize, because this is the plan, what works for you while you're wearing those many hats to keep your mental health? And as you get older too, you will start to realize that sometimes you start to decrease the amount of things you may be involved with. But until you step away from those things, then how do you go about making sure that you take your mental health? So just the way you learn to say no and don't feel guilty, take your power nap, my darling. No guilt. Thank you for sharing. All right. Anybody else? So I put the quiz back on the introductory slide for those who may have come in a little bit late while we're going to share for just a couple of minutes. This is the Warwick Enberg Mental Wellbeing Scale. It asks you to cover the last 2 to 4 weeks of your life. I asked the persons at the beginning to do the last 4 weeks, 14 statements. answer those honestly, and then you total your score. So I'll give those of you who join a little bit late the opportunity to do that. And then while anybody else is sharing, or you have any questions that I can answer for you, I will quickly go back to sharing their scores and what they mean before we close off. And in the chat, I have put back the scale just in case somebody wants that picture. I have also put a picture of the stress management quiz if anybody wants to have a look at that. And then I'm going to find the self-care quiz. I'll put that picture as well, but I can also put the PDF because self-care is one of the most important things we can do for our mental health. All right, so waiting on the persons now to speak. Let me tell you a quick trick. If I ask and my students put their hands up, they've volunteered. If you let me pick you, you've been voluntold, and I don't mind voluntolding anybody in here. So who's going to be brave enough to share with me the last thing you did for your mental health? When did you do it? And what's the one thing you think you want to do moving forward? Let me hear.
Okay, let me go.
Wonderful,
So apart
Lillian.
from apart from joining this program this afternoon, the last thing I did was to get a little extra sleep on today is what, Monday? On Sunday, I worked for the afternoon Saturday. So I would have been on afternoon Sunday. So usually what I do, I'd, go to church and then come to work. But then I realized I was really feeling tired. So I remained in bed and got some extra sleep. So that's the last thing I did for myself.
Wonderful. And what are you planning to do moving forward?
Moving forward, I'm planning to, like my children have a time where they decide that, they're in their quiet time, they're taking time for themselves. So I realize that it's something important. So I'm also practicing to also take a little time just for me. Usually I'd feel a little guilty that I need to be doing this, and, there's no way I should just be doing things for me. But then I realize it's also really important, and it's something that I need to balance with. So I'll take a little time to perhaps read a book. I'm trying to develop the habit of reading. And also I do listen a lot to stories. So I take some time for that as well.
Perfect. Please be aware that on the seventh day God rested. Everybody needs me time and quiet time. And
Yes.
I say to people, when you're planning out these things that can help, sometimes you say, boy, I would take a massage, your foot or your back or wherever, and we say it's expensive. I tell people they don't pay me. But I say there's Brata Living and Gustazos here, and there are salons and places that have deals. Capitalize on a few of those and plan it out, or you're going to get it. Or I say to my colleagues all the time, as nurses, especially in clinical space, or those of us who teach and stand, 2 pack of Epsom salt, a little pan with some warm water, throw the Epsom salt in there while you're eating or watching the news or the TV or reading that book, Lillian. Put your feet in the warm water with the Epsom salt. Fantastic. Kadian, I saw your hand.
Absolutely.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Wonderful presentation, my friend, my colleague, my batchmate. Thank you very much. So I shared in the chat earlier that, I'm home from work today because it's a holiday. And, sometimes this WhatsApp gets a little overwhelming. So what I did today for a period, I just turned off my Wi-Fi, turned off my data, and just got some peace in my soul because, how the WhatsApp message, and not just WhatsApp, sometimes you get notifications from other groups, and I just wanted some peace and quiet. So that's what I did for my mental health today, among other things. But I think that was a deliberate effort. And what I've been thinking about this for a little while, and this presentation has probably just ignited that fire in me. I want to commit. I remember when my son was much younger, working at University Hospital, every month we would go somewhere, and have lunch, watch a movie, just allow him to have a nice time every month, in a month when you get paid. Now he's an adult, and I think it's my time, and I pledge that I'm going to go to maybe a new restaurant or a spa or river beach. Just try to do something at least every 2 months. And that's something that I want to do starting very soon. And I know, that
Fantastic.
probably help my mental health. So listen for that call, Cheryl.
I was just about to be like, don't leave me.
Marjorie's here. We can team up road trip.
Yeah, me too, me too.
Don't leave us. That's what I'm saying. Be deliberate. Sometimes you be spontaneous, but make a plan. It has to be a consistent effort. One of the best things about working on your mental health consistently is that when we have life's crisis come at us, our response is always better if we were mentally healthy in the first place. All right? So I saw Marjorie's hand and Lavana's hand.
Yeah, so good evening, everyone. Hi, Cheryl,
Hi,
my mental
Marjorie.
coach, my love, my friend. Man, Cheryl, you have seen me through so many storms, still seeing me through many storms. But Kaden said something a while ago that really came home to me. It sounded funny when she said, let that ship wreck and catch it up another day. I've been through that. I'm a person who have to meet deadlines, and I don't want to make my boss upset. And and the other day I was personal stress clash with work stress, and then I felt it was gonna just crush me. And I just sit there and I just like, you know what? Lord, I put this in your hand. I'm not gonna stress myself. I'm just gonna leave. It's like I literally just sit and watch a shipwreck. But it didn't wreck. I just prayed, I left it, and the next day when I get to it, it worked out. So sometimes we put ourselves under some pressure, extreme pressure, and it will work out. If we trust God, the next day, when we think it'll go bad or the whole world, the sky will fall, it didn't fall. It didn't fall. The next day, I was in a better mental place, and I could, put it together and just get it out of the way. And I was like, look at that. Look at
Wonderful.
that. I swear it was gonna kill me. So
So
I
for
love
your
that
mental
one.
health, what
Yeah,
you
don't
did
have to watch this
was,
shipwreck.
yeah, so what you did was you trust God and say, let me leave it, and then you come back to it.
Yes,
Sometimes you have to
man.
come back when you're in a better space. That's the
In a
truth of the
better
matter.
space.
Yeah.
So true.
All right, Lavana.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Whenever Cheryl has this, it brings me to a different place of acceptance and reassurance, and always in my mind that there is a solution. I have gone from 0 to now I'm 70 something. Cheryl ensured me that it's good to seek and you will find, and knock and the door will open. And that is exactly what I'm doing. And I'm seeing results, and I know more results will come. And it has given me the opportunity to accept what we are going through as reality, but not to let it devour us, because there's always help. And those things just stuck in my brain. And believe me, when me go through then, Cheryl, to where I'm at now, I know you will hear it in my voice. There is a total restoration. So relying on the word of God, plus your circle, plus your prayer group, plus your age group, plus the group where I go through all of the premenopause and the perimenopause and the menopause, it definitely helps. And to slow down and to take a breath, it helps also. And you assure me that there's nothing wrong with your time, me time. It is important to have me time, and I've really accepted, and I've really accept the fact that what you can't change, make no sense to kill yourself over it, 'cause you can't change it. You can only work towards a solution and making whatever issue it is better. So these are my few words. And Cheryl, you have made such an impact on my life. And I ask God to just continue to give you the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding, as well as the favor and this blessing, will just continuously be upon you and your family. Because a few of my prayer group members are here, but in time they will talk. But I'm just telling you, whatever you're doing, Don't ever be phased. Don't ever stop, because me have your back. So many persons have your back. And you have my support 1000%. And you know that.
Thank
And
you
you know,
very much, Lavana.
don't ever stop. Don't ever stop doing what you're doing, because you are going to reach a pinnacle, and God are going to put you up on that pedestal there. So people are going to say, boy, I don't know why I never listen to her a long time. But not before it's time. God is working, and we trust
Agreed.
Him.
My favorite saying, there's no good health without good mental health, and we're all going to get there. Trudy, I saw your hand. I'm going to come back to the scores for some persons who just did the quiz. And if you want the picture from the chat, then get that. But just, I saw Trudy's hand. So Trudy, you can go and then we can come back to the scores. Trudy, you change your mind? Or did Trudy fall off? Trudy A, your hand was up. You changed your mind?
Good evening. I changed my mind. I'm trying to navigate the road. Apologies.
Okay, all right. If there's anybody else before we get to the scores, I'm just giving you that chance because I know you would have done your score later and we're going to come back to it. But just in case there's anybody else, if you want to just type it in the chat, what's the last thing you did for your mental health and what you're going to do moving forward? And do you need me to go back to the homework side? Because the homework is not for me, it's for all of us as we consistently work on our mental health. And I'm trying to put for you. Go ahead, Trudy. What's the last thing you did for your mental health? When did you do it and what you plan to do moving forward? Keisha, go right ahead.
Hi, Cheryl. It's a pleasure joining your session for the first time. I have been empowered. I'm just giving thanks that I joined. And I'll say the last thing I did for my mental health was to say no. To be honest, I felt a little guilty, but afterwards I realized it was the right thing to do. And going forward, I'm learning to say no, because I'm one that usually puts others ahead of me. And then everything comes behind that. So I'm learning to say no, also to just take a power nap too, like my good friend Diana said over there, because it helps. I come back to the other things and I'm refreshed and I can finish my day and feel at peace. So continue, and I will be sure to join next time around. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Keisha, thank you so much. Listen to me. You have to own it and know what you're gonna do. And let me tell you something, the no is a thing, especially when your love say yes, And them
Yes.
come and by the time you say, by the time you say, the work left by you, And then you start try to practice and then you still feel like you have to explain and them come back and you say, well, I don't think I can do it, because by the time you're explaining, them gonna leave you with it again. But as you practice, you learn to say no. And I always say to people, don't be selfish, but no when you can or when you can't, because it's a lot. And if you fall over, then nothing at all will get done. So you really, really need to ensure that we are prioritizing ourselves to give our best. And I think people don't see that sometimes. So thank you, Keisha. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All
You're
right.
welcome.
Anybody else? Are you ready to see the scores? Because if you missed it, what I did was I put back the quiz at the beginning. Did everybody get the pictures from the chat? So you can look at those self-care and stress management quiz when you're done. All right. Charmaine, I see you. You will continue to do is to go to places. Normally you say you can't, but are fantastic. Let's go and explore. Nature is fantastic for mental health. You know, many people now would take a little bit of Jamaican sunshine while they are freezing, is what I'm saying to you though. Yes? So let us ensure that we are taking care of ourselves. So I'm going to go back to this slide for those persons who came in late so we can see the score and then we are able to close out tonight. All right. So it was in the last 4 weeks and you were asked to complete the statement, select your numbers, and then do your totaling. right? So this is now where we are. We're going to look at the scores because you need to make sure you're assessing yourself if you're mentally healthy all the time. All right. So if you scored between 0 to 32, that means your well-being score is low and you need to more than likely see somebody professionally and or urgently make some effort to address what's happening to you. If you scored between 32 to 40, your score is below average. And so what you want to do is start taking some actions right away. Some of the things that we've talked about, some of the things that we didn't talk about, persons are free to share in the chat. What are some of the things that we know can benefit our mental health? If you score between 40 to 59, your score is average, and most people score between 41 and 59. While you're not doing badly, you're not doing great either. And so you will still need to make sure you're consistently working on your mental health. And if you score between 59 to 70, that means you're doing really great. And we encourage you to keep up what you're doing. But usually the thing I add here is please share with somebody, because guess what? Sometimes when we share, you learn from somebody, they learn from you, and we definitely have a way to consistently keep doing what we can for our mental health, because sometimes we have to change it up and switch it up and make sure we are consistently doing it. So what I usually say to persons is the well-being scale is a good one to use. The self-care quiz, the stress management quiz, sometimes you can simply ask yourself, what is my mental health status? How am I sleeping? How am I eating? Am I sleeping too much? Am I not sleeping well? Am I feeling tired all the time and I'm not doing any extra physical activity? Is it that I am stress eating, or have I lost my appetite? And when you take stock of those things and ask yourself, am I managing these challenges that are coming at me? Even when you feel overwhelmed, what you think you're managing. And when you are recognizing where you are, then the next step is to really do something to manage what's happening. So if you're scoring above average, fantastic. If you're at average, then you're going to work some more on it. If you're below average, you need to start working on it right away. And if your score is low, then I say to you again as I close, if your car makes a funny sound and you don't know is what, you go to the mechanic. If your body hurting your any part of you and you have to go to the doctor and do all the tests, we are not so averse to that. If our minds are not working the way it should, and if we're not managing despite our efforts, please consider a professional, because the bottom line is that you want to keep your mental health and you don't want to be pushed over into a mental illness. I thank you for joining me. So I hope everybody got a chance to do the scale and to see the scores. I hope you got a chance to get the stress management and self-care one from the chat. I have put in the chat how you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, because that's how you can follow me. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and I am posting for all 31 days activities, information, and resources. But barring May, I post 1 week out of every month on mental health on a particular topic, because it's everywhere in our life. And then I encourage you, if you can, look out for the newsletter on our first Monday, because tonight is Mental Health Mondays and it's twofold. There's a newsletter on the first Monday on LinkedIn. It's called Mental Health Mondays. And every fourth Monday, my pledge is to have a session like this where we can talk. So also, you can reach me, send your suggestions and or any topic you want. I promise that we are going to get it done. June is usually Men's Health Month, and so I'm going to ask you to help me to get some men out to join me for the fourth Monday in June, because men are not health seeking and we're taught by society that them can manage everything because they're men. It's not true. And so we're going to have to fix that. And then July, my very first session looked at being mentally healthy in menopause. And I was asked to have a part 2. We're going to be looking at part 2 in July. So my question to all of you as we close is, are you mentally healthy? And if you are not, what are you going to be working on moving forward so that we can all be in the boat to be mentally healthy and each one teach one, so that as we have more open conversations, we can decrease that stigma that makes us be unashamed and be open to saying, boy, I need some help with my mental health. You're welcome, Nats. Thank you, Katie. See you in June, Fidelis. Bring some more men with you. Have a fantastic night, everybody. And see you for the rest of May as we continue to share. And anything else you need, it's on the screen. That's how you can find me. Have a wonderful rest of your evening.
Awesome, Cheryl. I'm so proud of you as your batchmate. And
Hi,
listening to you,
Fee.
we all need this, especially the one that's coming up for the menopause. We really will appreciate it. God
Yes, we're going
bless you
back
on
to
your
menopause
journey.
in July.
That's
So we
right.
can complete that. And we're going to help our men along next month.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
All right, everybody. Have a good evening. And please, not only check on yourself, check on somebody.
Amen. Blessings, Cheryl. Thanks so much.
All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.